Welcome to the Money and Wealth Show, brought to you this week by AmericanManganeseInc.com. Here's your host, Sterling Fox.
Welcome to the Money and Wealth Show, the program that offers you opinions every week on business, the economy, and the markets. This week is no exception whatsoever. It's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Lindsay Meredith from the Beatty School of Business at Vancouver's Simon Fraser University to the program. Lindsay, good to see you again.
Pleasure as always.
And Dr. Meredith, I should also point out, is a professor in marketing and economics. So boy, have we got the right guy for an opinion program.
So to speak, work both sides of the street, Sterling.
The Canadian public and voters certainly indicated their preferences and strong opinions just a few days ago, Lindsay, with the election of a majority government. What are your expectations, economically speaking, from the conservative majority of Stephen Harper?
Well, certainly Harper is going to play two major cards. One is he definitely wants to get that budget rebalanced. Look, they spent a lot of money on that bailout trying to save basically Ontario and Quebec. Nothing near that kind of cash ever went at poor old BC forest industry. So a lot of money down the rat hole, as they say. Now we got to get it back. Well, how are we going to do that? Watch for some cutbacks on the public expenditure side, that to come up. So I'd expect to see some belt tightening, and that's how they want to try and get that rebalanced by, say, 2012, 2013.
Now, this has surprised a few people because the Harper conservatives haven't really been behaving very conservatively as a minority government. They've been kind of spending like liberals for about 5 years. That's a hard habit to break. You think they can do it?
It is a very hard habit to break. You know, I think part of it was, you got to give the guy a little bit of room here. I think part of the issue was a rock and a hard spot. He had a coalition government he had to manage, and basically that means you got to play the cooperation game. And if that means kind of catering to the other parties and their favorite charities, well, guess what? You're going to be spending a few extra bucks. Hey, he's got a minority. We might see a new act come to town.
And I agree with you, by the way. I'm starting to hear already that the commitment made both in the presentation of the budget document before the election and the continuing campaign of the election, they're committed to balancing the Canadian budget by 2014-2015, except as you have just indicated, a lot of people are now saying they'll push that ahead by a full year. They'll get it done a year faster than we're expecting them to. What's the point of that, aside from reduced interest costs?
Well, that's the key and major point. There are a couple of other issues running around in this. Remember, Canada had the enviable position of being one of the leaders in the OECD group of 8, being one of the best-run economies out there, frankly. Sure, yeah. When everybody else really caught fire and augured into the ground pretty badly, hey, we got nipped a little bit, but you know what? We walked through that downturn pretty much unscathed, and a lot of that had to do with a very, very well-balanced budget, a very tightly regulated financial industry. You know what? It's a pretty good winning combination. Harper and the boys would like to go back to that world. Our
biggest customers, the United States and the Europeans, but certainly America is our biggest customer, experience some financial issues right now. Their economy is really, really stressed, and they're not able to buy from us at a rate that we're kind of accustomed to selling them at. What's going to happen here over the next year, for example, in the first year of Harper's majority? Well,
you know, regrettably, I wish I could take these words back. I can't. America is not through the grief that it got into. They still have another year, 2 years of very tough sledding, both at the government level and especially at that consumer level as well. You know, American consumers were packing debt loads that would just stagger a horse. And you know what? They're back at the same bad old habits again. Credit card usage is starting to rise again. Look, that's how they got in trouble in the first place. And now they're back out reinventing it. Oh yeah, for good luck, you still have a collapsing housing market down there. In many states, you still have a deflationary price spiral on housing prices. None of this bodes well.
You know, the differences in the political systems are pretty amazing. We got a national election over and done with in less than 40 days. The American election, the next big one, is 18 months away. And between now and Election Day, Lindsay, they're going to talk a lot, but they're going to do absolutely nothing about their economic problems. Can America stand another 18 months of not dealing with its economy?
Well, there's a real problem, certainly with the battle going on between the houses, and certainly the Republicans and Democrats have never shared much love for each other, especially in cooperation. Look, is this going to be protracted? Yes, it will. Can they get away with it? Probably so, but you know what? This is not doing that economy any good at all. Here's the bombshell. Watch out for all of that American debt. And my God, you know, poor old Obama is running this stuff faster than a used car dealer right now.
Right.
And the problem is that debt has to get sold internationally. I got news. The Chinese aren't buying any more of that stuff.
That's right.
Well, as soon as that happens, then there's going to be real trouble, because the only thing that happens after that is you get into a deflation on your currency. And that's basically the only way you're going to get out of it. And at that point, interest rates are up, your currency starts to go sideways. That makes matters even worse. The debt servicing you have to do, you now have to pay with deflated dollars as well. So you can see the death spiral and how that can turn out. So you know what? If the Americans get too sloppy and too slow about settling their internal strife with each other,
right,
and don't get a plan, your point extremely well taken, they're setting themselves up for way, way bigger trouble than they've got already. And boy, they got pretty serious trouble now.
Right. Well, I need to take a break here, but the Governor of the Bank of Canada, Mark Carney, recently, in fact, just a couple of days ago in Europe, talked about the strong Canadian dollar versus the declining American dollar, and that poses a pretty unique set of problems for us. And we'll get into what that problem may be, or what those problems may be, and how we can best approach handling them. Our guest, Dr. Lindsay Meredith from the Department of Economics and Marketing at Simon Fraser University's Beatty School of Business. Lots more to come here on the Money and Wealth Show. Stay with us.
Always consult your investment professional before making any investment decision.
American Manganese Inc. has a world-class deposit in Arizona, indicated 6.7 billion pounds, inferred 8.9 billion pounds, potentially the lowest cost producer of electrolytic manganese. American Manganese Inc. has a projected cash cost of 44 cents a pound. The metal trades near $2 a pound. Do the math. Trading symbol AMY. Visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 604-531-9639.
You're watching The Money and Wealth Show, archived online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Here's your host, Sterling Fox.
And welcome back to the Money and Wealth Show. Our special guest this week from Vancouver's Simon Fraser University's Beatty School of Business, Marketing and Economics professor, Lindsay Meredith. Lindsay, just before the break, we talked about the loonie, the mighty loonie. It's worth, what is it, $1.03, $1.04? It's been over $1.05. My gosh, we're so tickled with our super currency. However, the governor of the Bank of Canada, not quite as smug as a lot of us, in Europe a few days ago said, you know, this high Canadian dollar is going to actually hurt Canada. The Americans are very busily devaluing their dollar. They want their dollar to be worth less. Ours, of course, is worth more. They're not, their products and our products on the same shelf, to a consumer, their products are going to be a lot more attractive. They're going to be cheaper. Our dollars cost more. So how does that work out for us?
Well, for the Canadian, you get winners and losers like most things in life. For the Canadian consumer, they actually can turn out to be a winner to the extent that a lot of those goods flowing over our borders come from America.
Sure.
They also come from other currencies around the world. That basically makes them cheaper for us. We can have a lot of fun with that. Now the buck stretches a lot farther. By the way, even the Bank of Canada, despite their howling, even they walk away as winners a little bit, because as long as those products are much cheaper, what happens is you have lower pressure on inflation, and that's a very key issue. That's a beast that is right around the corner. We've got to watch that. So as long as you've got a strong Canadian dollar, cheap products, low inflation, guess what? You don't have to jack the interest rate. That makes governments, and even majority governments, very happy.
Right, okay. Now, the interest rates Mr. Bernanke announced in his press conference a couple of weeks ago in America are not going to go up. They're going to be held at these ridiculously, artificially low levels for quite some time, deliberately.
Yeah.
In Canada, we've had one small increase.
Yeah.
It's widely held the bank is going to increase again sometime in July.
Yeah.
Would these incremental small increases in the Canadian interest rate eventually cause the value of our dollar to go down? And would that too be a deliberate strategy?
Well, certainly that was the modus operandi. For 30 or 40 years, the Canadian government artificially kept that Canadian buck low against the greenback for one reason. That gave Ontario, Quebec, and even BC Forestry a nice advantage selling our products over the line. Then you have to ask, now, why did the Americans put up with all this stuff? Well, remember, you can sell cheap Canadian car parts and refrigerator parts into the United States, but guess who the biggest supplier to energy to the Americans is? Canada. Oil, natural gas, and electricity. Well, in the old days, they loved that too because they got to buy that at cheap Canadian prices as well. So even they gave and even they got on the other side. What happened? The world called us on it. They're doing to us what they are now doing to China. China has artificially kept their currency low to give them a trade advantage.
Yes, yeah.
Canada were pros. They probably learned it off us. Well, you know what? The rest of the world is looking at us and saying, you know, you Canadians, we don't buy this story. Your currency shouldn't be trading down there in the bottom of the bucket. You guys are worth way more than that. And well, you know what? They're doing it to us. We're not getting away with murder anymore.
Now, you mentioned inflation. The morning after the federal election, I looked to the Canadian stock markets to see some kind of reaction of relief. Oh my gosh, a 4-year majority, finally some normalcy, something we can deal with. No. Overnight, there had been rumors of interest rate increases in China. And so the Canadian markets went south, and to heck with the election results. This is a much bigger concern. Interest rates in China are going up because China is really worried about inflation. They want a slow growth. How's that going to affect their demand for our goods? Well,
you're on to a very, very important point. And as they try and damp their economy down, look, we're the larder for the Chinese. We supply a big chunk of their metallurgical coal.
Sure.
We supply all kinds of other minerals. We supply natural gas. All kinds of products can come out of Canada. And if you cool off the Chinese economy, if you shut that down, you will indeed slow down the demand for Canadian commodities that we so readily ship in that direction. And we will be shipping even more in that direction as well. Even the Americans understand that. As soon as we got much more friendly with China, it was interesting. The Bush gang, all of their senior people came to Canada to reaffirm the strength ties with regard to oil exportation. Because a place like Canada or India, it's the black hole of consumption for all of these kinds of products. And if they cool off their economies, yes, we will feel some of the impact of that.
One thing that drives me nuts on this whole subject of inflation is the chairman of the Federal Reserve of the United States looking straight into the camera and telling me because they don't concern themselves with groceries and gas, then we don't have inflation in the United States, except, of course, groceries and gas, which are going through the roof day after day. Do we play that game of pretend here in Canada, too?
You know what? You're jerking my chain big time on this one, my friend. Yeah. I have raised absolute hell with the Bank of Canada on countless cases. And let me get this right. Gas is too volatile, energy is too volatile, and the prices of food commodities are too volatile in terms of price, so we're not going to count them.
So we play pretend up here too.
Of course. So when you discount those major expenditures out of your household income, hey, it's a smooth, ducky world out there. There's no inflation in Canada. I got news. There is, and it's serious inflation.
Well, I was just going to say the Bank of Canada is supposed to be all about being paranoid about inflation. That's their raison d'etre. And yet they play this game of eliminating things that would contribute to real inflation tracking?
Yeah. I think one of the problems you get from this little game is, look, as soon as you get price escalation where it really comes off the rails and starts getting really taking off at a high rate of speed, you get what we call wage price spiral. So prices rise. The next thing, labor looks around and says, you know, we seem to be getting poorer by the minute here. Having trouble meeting the mortgage, having trouble buying food, having trouble with the dentist bills. So what's the next thing that happens? Open the Vancouver Sun or any paper and watch to read about the latest strike. Labor goes on strike, they go on the warpath and say we got to catch up. Once that happens, the guys on the other side say, well, you know what? There go our costs. We got to raise our prices. Wage price spiral, away it goes. So what's one of the great stories to have? There is no inflation. Prices are not taking off. And boy, if enough dumb people believe us, maybe wages won't take off either.
Our guest this week on the Money and Wealth Show, marketing and economics professor Lindsay Meredith from Simon Fraser University. And we're back with more after this.
The Money and Wealth Show is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Molycorp Gold Corp has substantial assets. Magnesium deposit, inferred 52 billion pounds. Molybdenum deposit, indicated 1.9 million tons. Inferred 1.8 million tons at 0.087% MO. Past silver producer, average 182 ounces per ton. Trading symbol, MOR. Website, molycorp.com. Or phone me, Larry Ray, at 604-531-9639.
You're watching The Money and Wealth Show, archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com. Here's your host, Sterling Fox.
Welcome back to the Money and Wealth Show. Our guest from the Beatty School of Business at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver, Dr. Lindsay Meredith. And Lindsay, there was a story in the Globe and Mail earlier this week that caught my eye, and I'm sure anybody that saw it went, what? Apparently, of all employed Canadians, the only ones on anybody's payroll anywhere with actual pension plans that are still in effect and still working are public sector employees, people working for governments of one form or another. Why have we come to that? What's going on here?
Yeah, this one's been coming for a long time, Sterling. Basically, in the good old days, your father, my father, mothers, etc., there was something called a defined benefit plan. That was ducky. It basically said, retirement time comes, you hit the finish line, you'll get X $100 per month, like clockwork, full story, full stop. Well, the next metamorphosis was something called defined contribution. So that was no longer a guaranteed amount of money you got every month. It was, look, you put money into a plan, I'll put money into your plan as well as an employer. You'll wind up with a certain amount of money at the end. And then basically you're on your own, my friend. You can take that out as an annuity and get some paid every month, or you can leave it with us, or you can take the money yourself and invest it. So the contribution plan was really what replaced the defined benefit.
Okay.
The real problem is you get to these pension plans, they are turning out to be horrifically expensive.
Yeah.
Look, the crash and burn of General Motors, Ford a big piece as well. A lot of that has circulated and revolved around the problem of the size of the pension plans and trying to maintain the funded requirement for those plans. And that really became a huge capital load on the company, especially when times got bad and markets got tough. What's left? Yeah, about the only thing that's not the private sector, the government structures and some of the government-related unions. And yes, some of those have protected their defined benefits. Politicians, by the way, have some pretty good defined plans as well, by the way.
Aren't they well taken care of?
Yeah, the
now,
rest of us peons are on contribution plans, maybe. And you're going to see more and more of these plans disappear over time.
In the United States, on the subject of pensions, especially public sector pensions, the budgets of so many states and municipalities and counties and towns are so thrashed that city or county, the council now turns to the voters and say things like, look, this year we can have police and fire and city hall and garbage collection, or we can pay the pension plans of all our previous workers. We don't have a choice here. You can pay, pick one. We can't afford both. And that's what it's coming to in America. My question is, could we ever hit that point in Canada?
I think what happened in the States was, and this is an argument, by the way, the folks who hate referenda use that example. California, classic case. What happened there was every time you want to raise taxes, because you have all these expensive public services.
Sure.
It went to referendum and it got voted down.
Of course.
Well, guess what? Pretty soon, you either on whacking great deficits, oh yeah, now you're into the interest rate game, even worse, or else you wind up saying to your firefighters or your police, you know what, we can take care of your dad's pension or your salary, but my friend, you ain't having it both ways.
That's right. That's right.
And that became a real problem. Could it happen here? We have a slightly different political model, although certainly, look, HST is on the horizon. We're experimenting with a referendum here. We don't have the referendum disease the way the Americans do. To the extent it does make an incursion here, it would be much slower. If referenda became the soup du jour, all bets are off, my friend. We could be playing the American game overnight.
But we are playing the demographic game, as they are in America. The baby boomers are pretty much all hitting the finish line together in the next 10 years.
Good point.
And that's just going to just throw the numbers right out the door.
Dead on. That's a very good point. I mean, when everybody hits that finish line and tries to draw down on pension plans simultaneously, guess what? That's deadly for a company. It's also deadly for governments as well. Because the only thing a government can do is turn around and jack up taxes. And you know how well that one's going to sell.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you talked about referenda and taxes. We don't have a lot of time to talk about it. How do you think HST, in 10 seconds or less, is going to pan out in British Columbia? Is it going to be turned down by the angry citizens, or will the other side prevail?
I still think it's pitchforks and torches out there. I think there's an angry citizenry. I think Christie is going to back off on it. There will be some other version of it brought back in. What's the real issue here? The real issue is $2 billion of taxes that were paid by mostly big corporations being passed on to consumers and little corporations. Mm-hmm. Consumers aren't going to forget that story too quickly. The Liberals got their work cut out for them, my friend. This is going to be tough sledding yet.
And of course, we'll continue to track the saga of the HST referendum right here on this program. In just a few moments, our special guest, Dr. Lindsay Meredith, will have the final word.
The Money and Wealth Show is archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com.
Looking to advertise to targeted audiences? Online at talkdigitalnetwork.com or howstreet.com. On television, The Money and Wealth Show. And on radio, This Week in Money. To learn more about getting your message in front of our audiences, email us info@howstreet.com or call us 604-699-8600.
You're watching The Money and Wealth Show, archived online at talkdigitalnetwork.com. Here's your host, Sterling Fox.
And now with the final word on today's program, our special guest, Dr. Lindsay Meredith.
Well, Sterling, the whole issue of escalating oil prices certainly makes us mad around gasoline at the pumps, etc. There's a good side of the story as well. Destabilized Middle East. You know what? The Americans don't have access to a whole pile of oil they probably need pretty badly, but there's lots of it in Canada. It's in Alberta, and that will get shipped south. What's the good part of this story? You know what? As long as lots of oil gets shipped from Alberta into the United States, there's going to be lots of tax revenue off that. Harper's going to collect it. Alberta collects it. And you know what? If they're getting tax revenue there, that's a little less tax money out of your and my pocket as well.
Dr. Lindsay Meredith from the School of Business at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver. Thanks for coming by, Lindsay. Great to have you on the program. Good to see you again.
Always enjoy it, Sterling.
And our thanks also to Fritz and the crew here at Churchill's at the Holiday Inn in North Vancouver for the excellent hospitality. I'm Sterling Fox, and for all of us on the Money and Wealth Show, we'll see you next time.
The Money and Wealth Show has been brought to you by AmericanManganeseInc.com.